This morning we will be looking at 3 verses. That's it. And from these 3 verses, we will be able to explore what it means to truly welcome. We get a hint through the words of Jesus about what it means to welcome. And maybe, just maybe, we will be ready to do just that. Listen now and hear the gospel according to Matthew, chapter 10, verses 40 through 42. Let us listen for God's continued word to us. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Please join me in a time of prayer. Holy One, you welcome us in, but we sometimes close our doors. Help us to open up our lives to your love and our neighbors. And to that end, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock, our strength, and most of all, our Redeemer. Amen. Growing up, I lived in a house that was always open to visitors. We would host many family gatherings. We would be allowed to invite our friends over to spend time with us. Our house was a place where I always knew that people could come, a place that people could be. And thinking back to the way I grew up and the various events that were hosted at our house over the years, none of them seemed extremely radical in nature. We simply invited people over, had food and drinks, offered them a place to sit. During the summer, we would be outside swimming in our pool, or maybe out on the deck, or maybe even a campfire. In the winter, we would huddle around our well-loved dining room table, and we would eat a delicious meal that my mom and my aunts and uncles had brought, and we had an abundance. Nothing about these welcoming events felt special. It was simply what we did. But reflecting back on it, I'm finding that around those tables, in those huddles of family and friends throughout the years, I learned a lot about what it means to truly welcome someone, to allow them in a place and to offer them what they may need in that moment. Now, I know that Jesus is not really talking about backyard parties or holiday meals, but it does seem to me that the words that he speaks are even more radical than we could imagine. Jesus' version is a hospitality that is modeled after God's hospitality for all of us. And the best thing is that this hospitality is not complicated or complex. It's a little less so for our day. Jesus is speaking about welcoming in the prophets, which we know were not always welcome in their own hometowns. They were sometimes outcasts, and this was often because of the messages that they would speak to the people. They were not welcome because they questioned the faith and even the actions of the people. Jesus is speaking about offering welcome even when it feels uncomfortable, or when you do not see eye to eye with the person that you are allowing to sit at your table. It's the possibility of face-to-face conversation over a cup of water and some rest that may not be easy, but it is important. While we may not think of hospitality and welcome in this way, there are plenty of prophets and people who could use our welcome. So all we really need to do is to look around, see the people who we are missing. And when we see them, that is when we too can be a people who welcome in God's name. It's us offering a place and giving them what they need in that moment. It's simple, basic acts of kindness performed in genuine welcome. It's looking around, finding the need, and then welcoming them in. Honestly, it doesn't require that much from us. It requires a little trust, maybe some openness, vulnerability in our sharing, authentic relationships without trying to get something out of it, and prioritizing other people's needs. It seems simple enough to get into, but maybe there are things that will hold us back. Our pride and ego, or our self-doubt. These all can get in the way of offering something that is genuine and real. But God asks us to give a few things: love, food, drink, even for those who may not be able to reciprocate it. In a way, Jesus is saying, take that love that you have for your family, the love that you have for your closest community, and spread it out. Keep it extending further and further. Welcome in the stranger. Welcome in the one whose life you hardly understand, not to change them, but simply because they are God's beloved. And the weather is getting a lot warmer, so we know now is the time for a cup of cold water. Welcome. It often doesn't require much extra from us, just an acknowledgement that there is enough love and provisions to grow around. Growing up, I didn't realize that I was seeing hospitality. I just said hello to all the people who would come for any of our parties or events or meals, whether or not they were my friends or my family. I would help my mom get them drinks. I would see that there was enough food for everyone. And in the more recent years, making sure that everyone's food allergies are accommodated and considered, making a space where people feel they can be who they are. And now I know that places of welcome do not have to be fancy. They do not actually need that much. Just willing hearts and honest conversation, plus a cup of cold water on a hot day. May our doors be open and ready to welcome in whoever may come along. Thanks be to God. Amen.